I think it's, we as teachers, we sometimes get frustrated because we feel like, well, parents aren't supporting us at home because they're doing things differently, or they're not helping their children become calmer, more compassionate in their actions, or maybe they talk about other kids in the class and not in a positive way at home. And yeah, we just we've had it's our focus. Our whole focus has been how to raise children the best way and how to educate them. And some parents just came into it without any interest or knowledge prior. And we just want to change them so quickly. But first, we just need to accept them and love them where they are, and realize that part of parent education is, or the most important part probably, is building a relationship with the parents, having them trust us because they see we know their child and love their child. So sharing things that the child does that are cute or accomplished or special or unusual, and sharing what's going on in the classroom, mainly through conversations, but it also can be, of course, through online conversations and also through newsletters. Lots of communication is first thing, I think, first step in parent education. Yes, and then actually teaching the concepts of education for life would come after, for the best results, it would come after that relationship, that sense of trust. It's important when you teach these things to have specific examples in mind. So if you're teaching the specific gravity levels and what motivates each level, some examples of things that you've done that could have been successful because you understood the energy level, or things that failed because in retrospect you saw why it didn't. Specific examples are so important in communicating these things. Yes, I don't know if you have other questions.
Yeah, how would you approach, or how would you work with parents who are really concerned about, like, for example, their kids really meeting certain benchmarks and really performing in their grades, and parents who are really like very academic focused? How do you work with parents like that, especially with the EFL philosophy and the education?
That's such a good question, Clarity. It's asked a lot by parents, and I think we need to have confidence in what we're doing, that when we educate the whole child and we meet all their needs and we call forth their strengths, the intellectual will develop at the right time. And I mean, we have to teach it, but I mean, I've seen kids who weren't reading practically in second grade, and in most schools they'd be really worried sending them to remedial education, but these were bright, engaged students. And one of those students his mother couldn't get his nose out of a book by the time he was 13. You just have to, but teaching the whole child, not every parent is going to understand that. And they may even be attracted to your program because of what you offer and because of the balance. But then they get uptight, they get worried, they talk to a parent somewhere else, and they hear about all this intellectual stuff that kids are doing in the same grade level at a different school, and they get insecure. And all you can really do is reassure them. You can have test scores from your student. I mean, one of the things I would tell parents at our school in Portland is that, we had a lot of students from our school would go to a magnet school called Academy for something in the arts, music and the arts. That doesn't make sense anyway. And every time they would go there, they'd put them in, we would say they should be in this math class, and they'd say no, and they'd put them in a more basic math class. And every single student who graduated out of our school, they would end up moving them to the next math class, a higher level math class. And, you can tell them these anecdotal things. But in the end, you're going to have a few parents who are just too worried, too insecure, too influenced by their family who's putting pressure on them, you know, who a part of their soul is reaching for what we're giving, but another part is, I want them to go to the best university and be a lawyer or a doctor or a computer programmer, and they just need to be, let them go. You know, you don't need to persuade a parent. My opinion is we offer it, and we explain, and we give examples of how successful, but if they demand intellectual proof, you can only offer it as the results of what students become when they're older. And you can give them other parents' names to talk to, whose students graduated from our school. You can give them testimonials, but you will have some people who can't overcome that insecurity and fear or peer pressure. And you even have some parents, I think, that it's another reason, like the father doesn't want to spend the money anymore, and they have to come up with a more, they don't want to admit that, so they come up with another reason. And you don't want to get in a conflict, you're right and I'm wrong, with a parent, ever. You just want to say, well, maybe this isn't right for you, and bless them on their way, and not leave them with good memories of what they got from us. That's my opinion.
Yeah, those are really good examples. Because I did have a specific, a girl who's basically doing online tutoring now since COVID. And I was telling her about education for life and using some of the tools and techniques and maybe doing some of the online training. And she said, well, you know, how am I going to convince the parents that this is, you know, going to meet the academic standards if I work with this particular philosophy? And she said, that's the question I get the most from parents is, are my kids going to get A pluses because they're working with you? And, you know, that's what the most.
I had an online student in one of my early years of teaching the EFL online to teachers. She was a teacher in Alaska. And she actually, during the course, persuaded her, you know, everything in some schools is so rigidly scheduled and rigidly handed down what the teacher has to do. You have to spend this many minutes a day on math and this many minutes a day. Actually, it's that rigid in many public schools or schools, period. And she persuaded her principal to let her do some of these more physical, artistic, feeling kind of activities for, I can't remember, was it 1 hour twice a week or something? And she said it was a miracle because her kids started achieving more and became so much happier, and that the principal could see it. Now, not every principal will be that open and not be able to see it, but it does work. You know, when you satisfy all the needs of the child, they're gonna do better intellectually too. And you can't just neglect that teaching, but you can make it fun, and you can use your knowledge of the body, feeling, and will, so that the teaching's not just all talking and worksheets.